Okay, hey, welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess videos. Let's do another Bobby Fischer game. We're making our way through Bobby Fischer's tournament games. Win, lose, or draw, we want to grow with Bobby Fischer. And so it's always instructional to play through his games. In this one, he is playing the black pieces. He's going to play the King's Indian. His opponent is Santasir. It's a King's Indian defense. Let's see what happens in this game. Knight f3, knight f6, a very strong start. Bobby Fischer is almost to checkmate right now. Not quite, but still it sounded good, right? And then he's going to bump the g6, of course, and he will bring out both of his knights. Bobby will fianchetto his bishop, a grand move. Looks like his opponent is going to fianchetto his bishop. Bobby wants to get castled early, always a good idea. And of course, his opponent is preparing to castle as well. Bobby's going to bump the D in order to give support to his center when they begin to fight for the center, and his opponent is going to immediately gain more central space and try to control the center. Always a good thing. Bobby's going to develop his knights. His opponent will castle. So we've got the castling done. Okay, we're ready to see what further develops now that the castling is done. Fischer is first to put a little bit of pressure in the center, and his opponent gets rid of the pressure. So now the open D file occurs. This will be interesting to see what happens. And his opponent puts the pin on the knight. And remember, that means that this affects these two squares for black because those are the square, these four squares, of course, but I'm talking the central squares, just so that you have the heads up on that. Bobby's going to go ahead and tickle the bishop and declare, you tell me what you're going to do with that bishop. And interestingly enough, he does take the knight. Now, instead of retaking with his other knight, because Bobby wants to maintain control, he can take it, but he wants to keep in touch with this queen side because of the queen side. There is what I'm supposing. Who knows? I'm just blabbing, but he does not retake with the knight. He retakes with the queen, which is a good thing because you develop yet another piece. And now you've got the queen-bishop combination coming through here. Yeah, for now it's covered, but don't worry about that. Knight will come back to d2. And now the knight will come to c5. And the rook is going to come to rook c1. And now Bobby's going to thrust the a5 on the queen side. Now notice how white continues to rearrange his pieces over here to the queen side. So he wants to play queenside space. Now, nothing has been attacked through the center. True, you've got an open file, and technically the queen's got the file, which is not the best piece. In the opening, sometimes in the middle game it works. In the opening, of course, she can be chased away. That's not an issue for now. Just keep that in mind, that in the center there is an open file, but nothing's coming crashing through. No one is in attack mode, so that we see a rearrangement, several different knight moves, but it's rearranged so that the queen side's going to get play, right? And sure enough, Bobby will be the first to grab the file. And now, knight will come to d5. Very nice outpost for the knight, blocking rather than move the queen. He puts the knight right out there in the center, tickling Bobby's queen. Now, of course, that knight's not going to remain there forever. It's a good outpost. It's a great block from the rook hitting the queen, right? But we do have the pawn that can come up and chase that away. So if his opponent isn't careful, that could become a pinned knight and it could be lost. So now his opponent has to keep on top, keeping his eye open for tactics, right? Okay, I'm just pointing that out to you. So now that he's done knight d5, queen will go to d6. Now the face-off is interesting because it's going to net Bobby the middle file if he swaps queens, potentially up here, but he's not going to, right? So let's see what happens. And the queen goes to d6, and now the knight is going to take c5. The knight will exchange c5. The queen will take, oh, whoop, whoop, whoop. The queen will take c5. Yeah. I'm good. Hold on. Queen's going to come to b3. Okay. Queen b3. And now he bumps the bishop back. So he is maintained. You don't want to just leave a piece out there, especially your queen, without some backup. Make sure your queen is covered. So that's why it was necessary to move the bishop back to f8. Bobby and apparently his opponent want to play on the queen side, and so we're going to see them play on the queen side. So now the rook f comes to d8. Now he's going to challenge the rook file eventually, right? King's going to come up here to g7. Queen is going to come over here to f3. Notice he's putting his queen on the same diagonal as well. Also double covering, triple covering that knight. So it's a strong knight, but it could be pinned with a pawn push by Bobby. So white has to pay attention here. Rook will come to a6. Now e4. Again, he's going to push the central pawn and observe how it gives him more space to give him a chance to maneuver his pieces better. That's always important to look at. And now Bobby brings his rook over and doubles on the file. Very interesting. And you say, well, wait. In a way, that's almost a wasted move because the knight is so well covered. Remember, he's got the pawn push. And that pawn push is going to suck for white. He loses a piece with that pawn push, potentially. Or at least exchanges the rooks. I say lose a piece. I'm wrong. I apologize. And now, a3. And Bobby continues pushing that pawn to a4. And now his own bishop is going to realign, coming in to protect this pawn as well, a double protection on that pawn, getting ready to put his bishop into action because back here it's not doing anything because now this pawn is hitting granite. See, this is his weak bishop. Now, it doesn't mean it's useless, but it's just weak. It's got both pawns on the same color. So that's his bad bishop. I said weak. I meant bad bishop. Not useless, just a bad bishop by definition. So, and now Bobby's going to push the H out. And his opponent's going to likewise bump the H. And now Bobby is going to touch the knight, c6, and he scoffs at him. He says, I'm not worried about that at all. Let's go ahead and fight for the central file if you want. Let's see what you got, cowboy. And rook will go to f6. Instead of fighting that direction, he comes to f6. The queen will take f6. Bobby wants to exchange the queen. The king takes f6. And now rook takes d8. Notice what Bobby has done here. The bishop goes to h6, and rook c to d1, and bishop to e6. So what has he done? He's exchanged his queen for minor pieces. He has more pieces on the board, but he's queenless. So let's see how he can do this. Let's see what he can do. Knight's going to take the a4 pawn, and queen is going to come to a5. The knight will bump back to c3. Bobby's going to push h4, and king is going to come up to g2 to give his support to the pawn. See, the king can be a fighting piece, right? So this is how he wants to play it. Bobby's going to go ahead and exchange the g pawn, and the f will take the g pawn. And now the bishop, f will take, and then bishop comes to e3. Bobby's going to penetrate into the enemy position. Let's see if he does anything with this. Rook at 8 comes back to d3 because now the rook's no longer doing anything up on the very 8th rank. He needs to come back to here, and now he puts an outpost here. Now, that's a good outpost for the bishop. No pawn is going to chase that bishop away. Even though, interestingly enough, it's a bad bishop, the post makes it one of the most powerful pieces on the board. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this game. That's a terrific way to play your bishops. Instead of moving the pawn off of the square, which would make a bad bishop good, put the bishop on the outpost if you can. Notice both these pawns have been advanced, so nothing's going to chase that bishop away. We have bishops of opposite color here, so only the knight's going to be able to chase that bishop away. So that's a great post for Bobby. He's going to tickle Bobby's queen. Bobby's going to bring his queen back. The knight's going to come to e2. So see, now he can exchange that bishop. And in this instance, it's worth the effort to exchange the minor piece because that bishop's very solid, right? So you can see that's why he's putting the knight to e2, is he does want to exchange that bishop, and Bobby's going to double reinforce it. Yeah, I mean, why not? That makes sense, right? And knight will take the bishop. There's no question about that. Knight will take the bishop. And now c will take the knight. So Bobby has a really good central pawn chain, right? You notice we're in the middle of the game and they're still fighting for the center. That's really important. Nimzovich used to say, fight for the center all the way through the chess game. Beginning, middle, and end, as far as that goes, if you can. That's always a good strategy to do. Now the rook will come to f3 check. And the bishop, the king will go to g7. Now he's going to start pushing his queenside pawns. Can he do anything with the push of the queenside pawns? And Bobby's going to push the kingside pawns. So we have an opposite. The difference is this, at this point, he can rectify it if it's bad. He can put his rook behind the pawns, either rook, both rooks, and he's got this bishop diagonal that he can help bump the pawns forward if he wants, because Bobby is very badly outgunned on the queen side with the pawns. So it makes sense that he wants his pawns as far up that board as he can possibly get them. So he pushes the pawn, and Bobby pushed the pawn. So he's going to go on the king side. And now the bishop comes back up to d3, blockading the passed pawn. Notice that he blocks the passed pawn. There's nothing here stopping him. It's not like the pawn's going to get in, right? But there's no point in letting that pawn advance. This also, yes, it's the bad bishop for now, and he doesn't have a lot of influence, but it also does give Bobby a chance to re-exchange if he switches the pawns. So that's good. Here, Bobby nabs the a3 pawn, and king is going to come back to g1, and queen is going to take b4. Very interesting strategy. Watch this. Rook to b1. Sorry. b4, you idiot. Yeah, I was going to say, wait, that does not look right at all. He came here, then he took the b4. So he's taking a3, b4. Boy, you got to do this right. Rook is going to come to b1 to tickle the queen, and queen is going to take c5. So what this does is it helps us see the power of the queen. Correct? Yeah, that's a beautiful illustration. Yes, he's down a piece, but his queen is absolutely decimating the entire board. So rook is going to, now white kicks in gear and he says check. King comes to f6. And E is going to take f5. He's going to try to obliterate the king cover here. Queen is going to ignore that and come to d5 with an absolutely superb fork. And f takes e6. Check. Discovered check. And it's here that Fischer resigned. And why? Why would he resign? Because if the queen takes this, it was a beautiful fork. But if the queen takes, then rook goes check. Very clever. So the young Fischer demonstrates the power of the queen, and yet he succumbs to a tactic. And it's all good. We've all done that. But that game was so interesting to see. I really am enjoying going through the Bobby Fischer chess games with you guys too. So thank you for watching the Backyard Professor Chess videos. If you like, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate all your support and help. And I do appreciate all of your views and likes. You guys remember, stay good, do well, be happy, have fun, and I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.